This is Martin Giles of the Guildford Dragon News, and I'm with Cllr Paul Follows at the completion of the inaugural West Surrey Authority meeting. And Cllr Follows has been confirmed as the leader of the new authority. Well, congratulations on becoming the leader of this new authority. It's quite a task ahead of you.
It is a massive task, and I remember waking up on Saturday morning after I won the group nomination wondering just exactly what I've taken on. It is a phenomenal amount of work.
What is the main challenge you face as the leader of the new West Surrey Authority, do you think?
There's two main challenges. The first is debt. Obviously, I'm seeking, and I believe I've now got an early meeting with the government to discuss the debt and some of the issues that surround that. I also think we've got significant work to do integrating 6 boroughs and districts in the county. I think really getting all of these component parts to work together, integrating their services while dealing with something as mammoth as this debt is going to be something that is an absolutely full-time job for every member of this council.
I mean, integrating the IT services, I know a little bit about that. That seems like a huge task to me.
A huge task. I have to say I've had my first laptop issued by a local authority where I've got all my email on it working on day one, and the IT's been working great, which I'm phenomenally happy about. But no, IT in general is going to be something that is one of the biggest tasks. It's an area where we could save lots of money for residents, but I think, as we all know, IT projects are some of the hardest to get done.
Do you still think you're going to have time enough for your other roles, or are you going to give some of them up?
Well, I'm starting to reduce those now, and thankfully one of the results of this process is that my other roles dissolve in a year's time. So realistically, I've got the work now of integrating those councils. Of course, one of those is Waverley. You probably noted from the front row, my executive there, 4 of the council leaders of Surrey, the remaining those council leaders, are on my cabinet. The reason for that, among other their fantastic other talents, is that they are also going to be fundamental to integrating these councils, and still having control of those authorities is going to make that a lot easier.
Okay, now the debt issue you've mentioned already is a huge task ahead of you. Can the council begin to function next year if that issue is not resolved?
So the council can function, I would say, for at least 18 months before it faces the genuine problems. But of course, we're going to be dealing with that a lot earlier. The first things I'm going to be talking to the government about are they willing to do any more money beyond the 500 million they've done? That would be a great start, but I'm expecting them to say no on this. What I want to discuss with them is a package of other measures that will reduce those yearly costs for us. This is as much about the impact in an individual year for a council of the size of West Surrey than it is about the total bill. I also want to make sure that nothing the government does is going to impact residents in terms of council tax. That's my other key objective, is to make sure that the impact is not just simply borne straight upon residents, and that's the government's solution. I don't think that's viable either.
Okay. Now you mentioned can residents in Guildford and elsewhere be confident that their assets will not be liquidated to pay off the debts incurred elsewhere?
They can be absolutely confident of that. One of the many reasons I stood to be leader was to make sure that the process I'd started at Waverley to protect assets and to help towns and parishes take those assets and manage them continues and escalates. One of the first things that my cabinet and I will be looking at is the Guildford Town Council matter that will be referred to West Surrey in a few weeks.
Okay. Now you mentioned you have a real localism agenda.
I do.
So doesn't that need power to go with the authority?
It does. Now, I will be creating local committees that vest not just the ability for residents to speak and petitions. I will be vesting in them planning powers, licensing powers, grant powers, CIL, highways oversight, all the things that a borough council and other parts of the authorities that have been lost through this process used to have, to make sure those decisions are kept local. If I just mention planning as an obvious example, how on earth can one West Surrey planning committee possibly cover an entire territory as vast as this? I want to make sure decisions are kept local and that we go against this ridiculous centralising trend that I think the government wanted to do. I will make sure, through the structures of this council and the powers that we devolve to those local committees, the decision making will be kept local and residents will have access to council facilities in their area wherever they are.
Okay, now I have to say that I have spoken to some other councillors about your leadership style, and some of them have described it as quite bullying. Bullying, yes. What would you say to them?
I don't think that's fair, and I think bullying is a very serious thing to accuse somebody of, and I hope they don't mean it in anything beyond a sort of political, jovial way. I think what you've seen today, we have to work together across this chamber to get things done. There's absolutely no chance of any of this being a success without that. We need to work together because our primary problem is the government and debt, and some of the structural inequalities in local government that have been there for not just years but decades. We've got to work together to get through that. There's going to be the usual political jostling across the chamber. I mean, along with me as leader, my leader of opposition over in Waverley has been ported over as well. So I'm sure there'll be a continuation of a bit of rivalry. But at the end of the day, I think we all need to be pushing in the same direction.
And are you fully committed to following the Nolan principles, especially openness? Because there has been talk about creating a new culture here. Do you think that's key to part of that culture?
One of the reasons I stood was to make sure that we start to move on from some of the issues in the districts and boroughs, but also some of the way that the county council works too. This is actually a genuine opportunity, a blank slate, a fresh start. We can actually do something here that we've never had the opportunity before. I want to start this on an open, transparent basis. You've seen today that what we want to do is engage members, include members, but also make it accessible to members and members of the public too. The new localism agenda that will come forward in the next couple of months will start to show exactly how seriously we take on that. So give me a few weeks and you'll start to see the first parts of that. But I want to make sure West Surrey, rather than being this massive unitary authority that's really, really centralised, is in fact a little federation in Surrey that residents understand and can engage with.
Councillor Paul Follows, who's the new leader of the Shadow West Surrey Authority, thank you very much.